Sophie Cunningham just got slapped with an official warning from the WNBA. Yes, an actual disciplinary notice, after poking fun at Angel Reese in what might be the most harmless tongue-in-cheek moment of the off-season. One light-hearted comment, 20 seconds long, and suddenly the league lost its mind. The internet's in chaos. Sophie's being dragged as everything from a clout chaser to a racist. And Cathy Engelbert, the same commissioner who stayed silent when players were throwing elbows at Caitlin Clark, is now flexing her authority to make an example out of Sophie. But here's what everyone's missing. This isn't just about a joke. This is about control, about who's allowed to speak freely in the WNBA, and who gets silenced the second they challenge the league's narrative. By the end of this, you'll see why Engelbert's so-called official warning doesn't just expose the double standards in women's basketball, it confirms them. Because let's be real, this wasn't an accident. Sophie Cunningham's joke, a quick jab referencing Angel Reese's Victoria's Secret runway walk, wasn't some reckless blurting, it was precision. The blonde bomber delivered the most calculated 30 seconds of content you'll see all year. Was it a shot? Was it playful? Before you decide, we need to rewind and look at how this all started. Because just before Sophie's joke blew up, A'ja Wilson made her own playful comment that somehow didn't earn her a warning. Funny how that works. The only special whistle I know. That was A'ja Wilson, reigning MVP and self-proclaimed face of the league, mocking the very real criticism that she gets superstar calls, and doing it while taking a not-so-subtle swipe at Aaliyah Boston, who couldn't buy a foul call if her life depended on it during their playoff series. Now, you might think this was all just competitive banter between rivals. Wrong. That line was a match tossed into a powder keg. The exact moment when the WNBA's credibility problem became impossible to ignore, because it wasn't just about officiating, it was about hierarchy. Engelbert's WNBA has quietly built an environment where certain stars can say and do whatever they want, and others get disciplined for merely reacting. Sophie Cunningham just became the latest example. Yahoo! Wait a minute, wait a minute. Do y'all feel like she was taking a shot? Do y'all feel like she was taking a shot at Angel? I feel like some people was overreacting. I don't really feel like that was a huge deal. I see people, they are destroying her in these comments. These comments to Sophie are crazy. She's getting called all types of things. So let's get back to that Victoria's Secret comment that broke the internet. Sophie makes a playful remark, not hateful, not even particularly personal, about Angel Reese's high-profile fashion moment. Reese walked the Victoria's Secret runway. Fact. Sophie referenced it. Fact. But within minutes, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok turned into war zones. The race card got pulled instantly. Every major WNBA fan account was calling Sophie a privileged white player chasing clout. And that's when Cathy Engelbert decided to step in. Not to calm tensions, not to promote unity, but to issue a PR statement condemning remarks that could be interpreted as racially insensitive or demeaning to fellow players. You heard that right. Sophie got a league warning for making a joke that wasn't even about race. Meanwhile, Angel Reese can mock Caitlin Clark's appearance, A'ja Wilson can publicly taunt opponents about special whistles, and the commissioner stays silent. That's not leadership. That's selective enforcement, and it reeks of bias. The best thing that's happened recently is Sophie Cunningham getting into the media space. She gon' always give us something. Always. I love the fact that Sophie is doing podcast and talking more. Now here's where things get deeper. The real story isn't Sophie's comment. It's why she made it, and why the league overreacted. Because if you've been paying attention, Sophie Cunningham has been quietly building her own media empire. She's part of Tres Leches, she's running her own podcast, and she's become one of the most unfiltered voices in the WNBA. And when you live in a league where controversy drives clicks, that's dangerous to the establishment. Sophie understands the game. She knows exactly which names ignite engagement. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, the two lightning rods of women's basketball. Mention either one, and you're trending within an hour. And that's exactly what she did. Was she trolling? Maybe. Was she jealous? Hardly. What she was doing was asserting herself, strategically inserting her voice into the most talked-about storylines in women's sports without saying anything explicitly offensive. That's media savvy. That's what Engelbert doesn't like. A player controlling her own narrative instead of letting the league control it for her. Okay, but Angel Reese was a Victoria's Secret model for like she did just do the runway. I don't have no problem with Angel Reese doing the runway. I know there was some people that was talking about it. I don't care. No big deal to me. No big deal. I don't really care. I don't think that says anything about her good or bad. I ain't really feel like that was a big deal either. I didn't feel like Sophie was like coming at her crazy. Now some people are gonna interpret it that way, but the reaction exposed something bigger. Something rotten that's been festering for 2 seasons. Because every single time a white player jokes, comments, or even breathes in the direction of a black superstar, it instantly becomes a racial issue. It's never about basketball anymore. It's never about tone or intent. It's about perception, and perception in this league has been weaponized. Sophie knew this. She's been around long enough to see how every Caitlin Clark headline turns into a culture war. So the fact that she still went ahead with that comment tells you something. She was testing the double standard. And sure enough, the WNBA proved her right by punishing her for it. And the best part? The so-called offensive comment wasn't even mean. It was observational humor. The same kind of teasing that's been part of sports culture forever. Sophie didn't attack Angel personally. She didn't insult her appearance. She didn't even mention race. She simply poked fun at the idea that Angel Reese, a player who once cried on national TV about being sexualized and disrespected, is now literally walking runways in lingerie. It's irony. But irony's not allowed in Engelbert's WNBA unless it fits the league's narrative, because when Caitlin Clark hosted Saturday Night Live, critics said she was distracted. When Angel Reese does a Victoria's Secret show, she's empowered. When Sophie Cunningham makes a joke about it, she's racist. You see the pattern? The rules change depending on who's in the spotlight. And Engelbert enforces those rules like a dictator with a PR department. Let's not forget, this is the same commissioner who ignored player safety concerns when Caitlin Clark was getting thrown to the floor every other game. But one joke from Sophie, and suddenly there's a formal statement about league values. Give me a break. The hypocrisy is suffocating. And then you have A'ja Wilson sitting comfortably at the top of the league, mocking critics with her special whistle line while the numbers prove she gets superstar treatment. Talk about you getting a special whistle. You know you shot 19 free throws in the final game. You shot more free throws by yourself than the entire Phoenix Mercury team. Nobody's making this stuff up, A'ja. Come on, man. Like, y'all act like it's gonna kill y'all to keep it real. It's not gonna kill you to keep it real. Everybody know you get all types of calls that nobody else in this league is getting. Nobody else in the league is getting these calls, man. 19 free throws in one finals game. 19. The entire Phoenix Mercury roster had fewer trips to the line than one player. And instead of addressing that, the league's focus is punishing Sophie Cunningham for making a quip about a fashion show. If that doesn't tell you where Engelbert's priorities are, nothing will. The WNBA's credibility problem isn't just officiating or management, it's leadership. Cathy Engelbert isn't running a league. She's running a PR machine that protects a few chosen stars while silencing the ones who dare to question it. Sophie Cunningham didn't commit a sin. She told the truth the league didn't want spoken out loud. And now, because of one joke, she's been officially warned by a commissioner who's desperate to control the conversation. And that's the irony of it all. By trying to silence Sophie, Cathy Engelbert just made her louder than ever. Listen to the frustration in his voice. You can't breathe next to A'ja Wilson without a whistle blowing. Caitlin Clark can get thrown to the floor with no call. Napheesa Collier can literally have her leg stepped through. Nothing. But exhale too hard near A'ja, and it's 2 free throws. Fans see it, players feel it, and analysts are tired of pretending it's not happening. And let's be clear. This isn't hate. This isn't bitterness. It's a simple acknowledgement of what everyone watching already knows. A'ja Wilson is incredible, and she gets officiating help that no one else in the league gets. Both can be true. She's one of the most dominant forces in the sport, a generational player. But she benefits from calls that tilt the balance. The problem isn't that she gets them. The problem is that she can't admit it. And the moment she mocks people for even bringing it up, she loses the credibility that true greatness requires. That's what people respected about the greats. Self-awareness. LeBron can joke about getting calls. Kobe could admit when he had a lucky whistle. Confidence can afford honesty. But when Asia deflects with sarcasm, mocking Aaliyah Boston's struggles after a series she barely escaped, it doesn't come off as confidence, it comes off as arrogance. Because if we're being real, if Kelsey Mitchell doesn't get injured, that series might end differently. The Indiana Fever were this close to knocking off the Aces. They had Asia's number. They exposed her team's weaknesses, but injuries gutted their depth, and bad officiating gave Vegas cover. Without those two factors, the Aces aren't hoisting another trophy. They're going home early. And now, when you stack that attitude next to Sophie Cunningham's so-called controversy, you start to see the entire picture of what's broken inside this league. Asia makes jokes at others' expense. No punishment. Sophie makes a light-hearted quip about Angel Reese's modeling career. Official warning. The hypocrisy writes itself. It's the same pattern every time. Asia and Angel can say and do whatever they want. They can call out refs, bash opponents, or turn press conferences into personal branding opportunities. And Kathy Engelbert applauds them for authentic expression. But when Sophie Cunningham cracks a harmless joke that doesn't fit the league's PR narrative, suddenly there's a formal statement about upholding league values. The WNBA, the gift that keeps on giving. This is wild. Sophie Cunningham has everybody up in arms. Everybody's up in arms. They call her a clout chaser. They're calling her a race. All types of stuff. All types of stuff. Sophie knows how to stir the pot. Shots fired at Angel Reese. This isn't discipline. This is control. Engelbert's official warning wasn't about what Sophie said. It was about reminding every player that she decides who gets to speak. And the fallout proves it. Within hours of the announcement, the internet turned into a mob. The same accounts that ignored Angel Reese mocking Caitlin Clark were suddenly labeling Sophie racist, privileged, and problematic. Reporters ran with headlines that sounded like character assassinations, not coverage. The WNBA created its own villain to protect its favorites, and the press ran with it. That's not equality, that's propaganda. This is what happens when leadership uses players as pawns. The league is so desperate to avoid controversy around its chosen stars that it punishes anyone who accidentally exposes the double standard. Engelbert thinks she's protecting the WNBA's image, but she's actually destroying its integrity. Because now, every fan can see it. The rules don't apply equally. Sophie's not the villain here. She's the test case. Her warning isn't about race or tone. It's about who the commissioner chooses to silence. And it's working, just not in the way Engelbert hoped. Because Sophie's voice has only gotten louder. Her podcast numbers are spiking. Fans are rallying behind her. Even people who don't follow the WNBA are starting to ask, why is this woman being punished for a joke? The Streisand effect in full swing. The harder the league tries to suppress her, the bigger she becomes. I don't feel like it's a big deal. People are saying she always has to drop somebody's name that's popular. She's building her popularity up off other people with Caitlin Clark and all of this stuff. And I don't know. I just don't feel like the Victoria's Secret fake comment was I didn't feel like that was a big deal, man. Meanwhile, Asia keeps tweeting jokes about special whistles, and Angel keeps doing interviews about empowerment. And somehow, they're the league's untouchables. No warnings, no public scolding, no accountability. It's the exact inconsistency that drives fans insane. One group gets policed, the other gets promoted. Sophie Cunningham figured out something powerful, though. She realized controversy is currency. Angel Reese proved it first. Every time Angel cried victim or threw shade, she got another sponsorship. Sophie saw the pattern and flipped it. Why wait for PR favors when you can build your own spotlight? Every insult, every backlash post, every outrage cycle, it all feeds her brand. People call her a clout chaser, and she'll probably smile at that label, because they're right. She's chasing relevance in a league that tried to bury her. And ironically, Engelbert just handed her the biggest platform of her career by trying to silence her. And that's the parallel nobody's talking about. Sophie and Asia are on opposite sides of the same storm. One's getting punished for speaking too freely. The other's protected for saying too much. Both reflect a league that's lost its way. One drowning in PR spin, the other weaponizing favoritism. The WNBA used to be about basketball. Now it's about who can trend longest on Twitter. Every play, every foul, every offhand comment becomes a culture war. New fans don't know who to root for. They just pick sides in the latest drama. And the league's leadership. They love it, until the wrong person starts winning the conversation. That's why Engelbert came down on Sophie. Not because she hurt anyone, but because she threatened the narrative. Because she dared to poke fun at a protected star, and in doing so, reminded everyone that the league doesn't treat its players equally. The tragedy is that Engelbert thinks she's protecting the WNBA's image, but what she's really doing is exposing how fragile that image truly is. The more she silences players like Sophie, the more fans start to question what else she's hiding. And that's where the league now stands, at a breaking point. Fans are fed up with favoritism, players are split between silence and rebellion. And Sophie Cunningham, the supposed villain, might just be the one who forces the league to face its hypocrisy. Because here's the truth. Sophie didn't break the WNBA's image, she revealed it. Cathy Engelbert's official warning didn't protect the league. It confirmed what fans already suspected. There's one set of rules for stars like Angel Reese and A'ja Wilson, and another for everyone else. And that's the moment the audience needs to remember. The moment the WNBA stopped pretending it was about empowerment and started showing it was about control. So maybe that warning wasn't a punishment at all. Maybe it was a badge of honor. Proof that Sophie Cunningham is saying the things the league doesn't want anyone else to say out loud.